I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'd like an approval of the draft minutes from February 24th, please.
No move. Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. I'd like the treasurer's report.
All right. Sorry. Here we are. So on the treasurer's report, I don't have anything to add on that. Just in regards to the money in the Bank of Cooperstown savings account. What was it? Back in January, I asked for emergency resolution to authorize me to sign documents that we haven't received yet. Well, we still haven't received them yet. So that hasn't closed. So that's why that's still there. The receivable to the Sewage Works Corp, that is accurate. We are fully paid up. And we have recouped, the IDA has recouped some insurance related costs from 21 and 23 related to our insurance policy on that. So actually Tab and I, that's one of the reasons why I was late. Tab and I were going over that earlier, and we've gone from being not having enough money to pay our bills to the Sewer Works Corp is actually doing okay right now. So on a cash flow basis, we're not actually making any money. But cash flow, we're doing fine now, thanks to the IDA's initial support. On the treasurer's report for the LDC, yeah, I have nothing specific to add there. And I'm sure everybody's anxious to get right into our loan report.
Yep.
So I will have a couple things here. Let's see. So number 12, that's an ongoing issue with them. They've been consistently behind by 1. Now they're behind by 2. We'll get a check. I mean, that's one we've talked about, trying to get them on automatic withdrawal, and that's just going to be one in process. Number 15, again, I have nothing new on that. He is making payments as agreed now, but still there's just that huge outstanding balance. Number 16, 17, 18, I had a long meeting with them earlier this week. Their situation has not changed dramatically, although we spent a lot of time on their part trying to convince me that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's obviously going to be a work in progress. One of the things that they did ask is, so they haven't made a payment since July. They are making interest payments on one of their notes. But other than that, they haven't made a payment since July. One of the things, and to be honest, it's probably not going to change through the summer. They're behind with everybody. They're still trying to get up and running. They still believe they can get in there. They have addressed some of their regulatory issues, and they're ready to get into their new quarry to start being able to get their own stone, because currently they're still relying on, I shouldn't say that. They're still relying on purchasing some of the raw materials necessary, but they have orders coming in that they're able to fill when they come in. It's not like it's steady every day. People are working. It's kind of, they bring them in when they need them, and then they go back home, kind of thing. But they're hoping that will change as the weather changes and they can get into this new quarry. They have asked that I work with them on providing some options in terms of how to consolidate and perhaps extend their total debt to make it so it's reasonable payments that they can actually make. With the idea that hopefully in August or September, they'd be in a time frame or in a position to be able to make regular payments.
What's your assessment of management's willingness to do all this?
They're either the most optimistic people ever, or they know something. They believe they will be able to save this. 100%, they are convinced.
In any sale of excess assets?
They are working on some of that. So this down period, one portion of our long discussion is, again, I said they're optimists, that this has actually been a blessing, the shutdown, because it's enabled them to have the time to go back through all of their equipment, what's broken, what needs to be fixed, and getting that taken care of. What do they no longer need? What needs to go down the road? Things of that nature. So they believe that this time period, they've cleaned up their a lot of stuff that was on site that didn't need to be there. They're improving their processes in terms of bidding projects, moving them through the chain. Yeah, they believe that they're actually making strides throughout this whole
What do you see
process.
as like the management team? How does that look to you? Is there a succession plan or anything there? Or
Well,
it's a Pete, one all the time, Pete.
yeah, there's the owner, and then there is a dedicated lead management, the woman that we're all familiar with, and who's young but dedicated to saving this business. And from the owner's perspective, he basically said, we've been here for 117 years. I don't want to be the one who says that we're no longer here. So it's a difficult one, but obviously we made 2 loans in 22 to help them through a rough period. Unfortunately, we weren't aware of how rough the period was going to be. Well, the first one we weren't. The second one, I think we went in eyes wide open, that it's saving it. And we're still in that mode of trying to save it.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, not ideal.
We do remember that you're just reporting that this is not you personally.
Yeah, but that's all right. You can beat me up. That's okay.
So that's
So number 19, again, they're one that is carrying a past due balance, but they are making they're making monthly payments each month. Number 23. I just talked to him now 2 weeks ago. And we specifically talked about getting this taken care of, and I'm sorry, I lost track of it over the last 2 weeks and that hadn't followed up on it. But the company is actually in the process of creating another new tap room over in Oneonta, the west end, what used to be James Way.
Yes, James Way, Ames Plaza.
Yes. So they're going to put in a brand new tap room over there. So I'm a little bit disappointed that it did show up again, and it's my fault for not following up, because things are doing well with that business and there's no reason for this. So that one's on me. But I have been in communication with them, and so I'll make sure we get that one cleared up.
So go all the way to the bottom of the lease payments. The very last one.
Yes,
Let's just clean that off of there.
okay,
That's not gonna get recovered.
right.
And have you sold all the equipment there?
Yes and no. Well, so
I didn't know that was a yes or no question answer there.
okay, so we've sold a lot of it. We've been paid for some of it.
Okay.
None of it has been picked up.
Really?
Yes.
I'm
So,
waiting for it.
Could you sell it again?
yeah.
How many times can you say?
Yeah, so the valuable items that we had marked for selling have been sold,
Right.
or at least earmarked to be sold.
Uh-huh.
Some of which have been paid for, some of which has been not. Sean is working this and trying, next week is gonna try to make a big focus on getting everybody there to do it. We
Yeah.
probably have like 5 or 6 low monetary value items left to sell.
Donate
And
it to
that's
the
about
food
it.
pantry and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
Okay, and didn't we put out a request for proposal?
We haven't done it
purchase?
yet. We will be doing that in April. There's probably 5 people who are interested in it.
What were we gonna list that for?
425,
25,
yeah.
okay. And
Well, yeah, probably higher. We'll list it higher than that. That's what
Right.
I'd like to get.
in the piece of property over on the corner of Meredith Street and 10, what are we gonna sell that for? 90, 70?
76, and it depends on how some landscaping and shielding issues
Right,
turn out. Yeah,
So the 425, who owns that? LBC or IDA?
IDA,
And the city one? IDA.
yes.
And
All our property is owned by the IDA
IDA.
except for the piece in Walton.
Hmm. What's your thought on how to move that money to the LBC?
In terms of
It becoming an LBC asset?
why,
Well, that's kind of where we're gonna do the future lending from.
yeah, but see, and we can get a little bit more into this when we talk about goals. One of the goals of the IDA is to try to do a little bit more of this property redevelopment type thing. And those are our funds to be able to do that.
Right, cause that's gonna be roughly 535,000
Right.
to do that with.
Mhm.
Okay,
And we have the pending sale of the 135 Delaware Ave site over in Sydney. Kmart. The former
Oh,
Kmart.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So that's still in the works too, as they're
What was
still
that?
going
How
through.
much was that? 100 and something?
No. I don't want to throw out a number because I've got 2 in mind. In the $200,000 to $300,000 range.
Okay,
Cause I think we figured out what we put in and we were willing to take a small loss there to
Yes.
move this along.
Yep.
all right, good. Just trying to figure out the conversion of fixed assets to cash assets. All right,
The LDC could buy it from us.
right?
Well, we-
From the idea.
It's you guys.
IDA would have to hold the mortgage.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So the LDC was holding the mortgage from whomever, yeah. We convoluted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so LDC loan report. Number 11 and number 13, just typical. Number 39, I did have a meeting with our attorney on. She's not very high on doing collections, but I think I can twist her a little bit. So I'm going away next week, and after I get back, we're gonna sit down with the file and go over everything on that one. Number 44 is typical. You know, he's always end of month payer.
Do you got anything to sell that would ultimately pay this off? Because this industry's really changed.
Yeah, I don't think any of our payments are coming out of the business that was started with our money. It's all coming off of other
Income,
income.
right?
Yeah. I don't think he has the means to pay us off in full.
That's why.
He doesn't have the
That's bad.
liquidity to do it.
Right.
So that was it on that, unless there's questions.
Okay. And anybody have any questions on the invoices?
Weren't you gonna start providing us with balance sheet and income and expense on the sewer corp?
Yes, I was. And I forgot.
Okay. This is a gentle reminder.
Yeah,
Sounded bad, but
you know. and Balance sheet. We said monthly, right?
Yes.
Oh, shoot, I was hoping for weekend. Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept
No.
the financial reports and to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. Glenn, you want to talk about Four Winkler, or do you want to save that for an executive session?
I think we can,
Do
I
that.
think we can get through it.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, so, Sean has been really the initial contact for this. Mr. Song had reached out to us several months ago. About interest, I believe it was in January, about interest in our vacant piece of property over in the Sydney Industrial Park. 4 Winkler Road, that's the way I'm labeling it, that's what the number will be, because it's vacant, it doesn't technically have a number yet. But that's what it will be, is 4 Winkler Road, 2.21 acres. He's looking to put up a 20,000 square foot, ideally expandable to 40,000 square foot facility, where they would do the woodworking manufacturing that they're currently doing, as well as building custom windows and doors. WTS Construction and the owners, their whole interest in this industry is on the engineering side and energy efficiency and renewable building materials side. The guy has a very strong educational background. That's where he wants to head into. So for the net zero windows and doors, perhaps looking into alternative forms of building materials, working a lot with research and companies based out of the UK. They are also a distributor for those baseboard heating systems that are basically the same as radiant heat, but from the baseboard rather than in the floor, which is great for a reno type project, because you're not tearing everything up. And yeah, so the property is, we talked to him about a price of 20,000 per acre. He's completely fine with that. It would be a cash transaction. He's looking to invest roughly $1 million in a new building, some new equipment, moving equipment from a current leased facility down in PA, and basically basing all of their in-house production and some of their distribution out of the location in Sydney. And it works because it's right there on 88. And still not far down to New Jersey, where they're management wise, they are based out of and will remain being based out of.
Yeah, I'll move the sale of it.
Okay.
Second.
all right, any other
Glenn,
questions?
that timeline that he has to 2025 to open that facility up, could that move up any sooner
Yeah.
than that?
So he's working with, so he's used to the more metro area regulatory framework. And so is his architect, and his architect basically told him, well, a project of this nature could take 1 to 2 years to get through permitting. So he thought allowing 1 year for permitting was being optimistic. I told him, you're gonna get through this process in 2 months. He's like, well, if that's the case, then we'll build sooner. And it doesn't seem like financial issues are a hurdle. Everything's gonna be self-financed. Yeah, so I think it will move much quicker.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That's a good one, Glenn. I'm glad to see that. Now we go from the up to the down.
Yeah,
This has already hit its low point. It's just coming up from here.
There we go.
yeah, so where we're at is we kind of discussed it briefly. We're nearing the productive end of the sale of equipment. Once we get all the payments for the equipment that has sold, we would like to come up with some basis that I would run by the board for addressing outstanding accounts. To try to alleviate some of the losses that vendors had incurred. And I just want to emphasize some of the losses that they occurred. We will not be making them whole. Then the next phase is moving on to the RFP. I've shown the building to 3 different, have you shown it?
I have not sure.
You have not, but you had some, well, all right. And then we had one stand us up. So we've shown it to 3 separate people. We've had a couple more express verbal interest in it. So we think that is a viable piece of property for sale. And we'll get on that, right in April and get that listed. I did have a request regarding that property. So one of the former tenants, who was also a former loan applicant of ours, Thais Taqueria. She is in the process of purchasing a new location located down in Hamden. However, the facility currently has well water, and getting through DOH approval, because she's dealing with food with well water, is like a 6 to 9 month process. Her season starts in like 3 weeks. She is going to be hooked to the town of Hamden community septic system, as well as their water system, but that hookup will not occur until August, likely. She is requesting if she could use the facility similar to how she used it in the past under the prior, for basically a home base for keeping the trucks there, doing dishes at the end of the day, and doing some of the prep work for preparing the food. As long as it doesn't conflict with our process of selling the property. And she knows it could be sold out from under her.
How do we market it with her in it?
I mean, so my thinking is, I was just kind of,
See what you giving
Yeah.
her like a month to month? lease?
yeah, I was thinking just month to month, and also basically taking a realistic look of where we are with the RFP. If we get it out in April, we're going to give people what, a month to reply, maybe that. So then we're looking at things in June, and even if there's no questions and we move to a closing, we're probably not going to close until July or August anyways. So not that it would be a seamless, but I think if we could just buy her a couple months, even if it's just May and June, for her to come up with, another interim option, it might work.
But I'm more than, I personally would be willing to let her do it. But I think she could speed her approval along down in Hamden by just putting in a UV system, which we had to do at Catskill Harvest.
Yes,
But that's an additional cost to her when she has a timeline to get the full hookup from the village.
right.
So,
Right,
I-
okay,
You know, just to look at it from
Yeah,
a cost.
because she has to,
perspective,
because the hookup to the village is gonna cost her 20,000
Over a
as
couple
well.
months, I don't
Okay.
know. That's my-
So what were your thoughts on the continued water testing and the electric?
The electric's on. I mean, I think it would be a de minimis use for her to use it.
Why can't she pay it?
What?
Why can't she pay the electric?
Right, I'd rather keep our cost to as minimum.
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna do this for free. Yeah,
Well, currently it is just part of her use of the makerspace, right? And the cost is being incurred. by us.
yeah,
Yeah, so she gets month to month.
yeah.
And
So
celebrate with
previously
everything
she was
in the week.
paying $500 a month rent,
Okay.
twice what we did not receive.
I'm glad you're a little bitter, that always.
They better yet.
As long as we have some type of agreement that we can send in cleaning crews or repair crews. Because when you get all that furniture out of there, we don't want the building to look like.
Right.
And if we're gonna market it for what we want, we need to clean it and make sure there's no holes or anything wrong.
It'll be mainly in the back kitchen,
Right,
not
right.
in the front.
Right.
Yeah, so basically the space she would use is the kitchen probably 3 days a week. And the walk-in cooler downstairs.
Doesn't she have a bunch of supplies downstairs with the?
Yes, and she has a little area
Yeah.
in the storage area where her stuff is.
I think that's.
That's fair.
It's a
Yeah,
fair
I-
thing to do. It's a fair thing to do. She's been a successful lender of ours, so.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and same rate as she previously paid is okay.
I think that would cover the electricity.
I do, if not, we can monitor it. I mean, we've got a record now of what it's been as a vacant building for the last
Yeah.
4 months, so we know what our monthly bills typically are.
Lights on.
Running it.
It's a walk-in,
You got,
The walk-in and then the dishwasher that might drain,
you got propane costs too, right?
yes.
So just
And
tell
again,
her
we
it will
have
be,
those.
like the 500 a month and whatever the difference.
If there's a
is,
markup
Yeah.
for utilities,
Then
yeah,
she has to, she agrees to cover that, and then
Yeah.
that's it, whatever that is, because we don't know what that number is.
Yeah.
And then
That's all.
keep it simple, fair.
Yep.
Question for you, on the equipment that has already been sold, but they haven't picked up and they haven't paid. I'm just, I just find it interesting. Is there like a deadline where they have to pick it up by, and is there like a restocking fee in case they don't, you know? Okay.
yeah, that's
and
what we talked
know,
about this.
Is there a storage fee if they don't pick it up by a certain day? Because
Yeah, we've been
you become a
trying-
storage facility.
We've been
I'm just
trying
saying.
to be reasonable with people and they've been taking advantage of that, so.
Well, that's what it seems like to me, but I don't know, so I'm trying to be a little facetious, but
Mhm.
yeah, kind of motivate them to
Yeah.
pick up the equipment as opposed to being a storage
Yeah,
facility.
it might go better with the building that.
I purchased, I don't know about you, but I
Show them
purchased
what it's capable of.
building equipment
Yeah.
and supplies from auctioneers. And if I don't pick up by a certain day, they charge me every day until I pick it up. To encourage me to pick it up, because they need more space to bring stuff in, right? So
That's a motivational.
it's very motivational.
You don't like it, change your habits.
That's it. Or-
Change your storage.
That's it.
Have you got buyers for that shelving and everything that's in there?
No, nobody has
Nobody wants
expressed
that.
interest in the shelving
The shelving downstairs or?
Upstairs.
upstairs.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thank you.
okay. It's kind of custom built in. It's,
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I basically what people are saying, yeah, that looks great, but then I have to unbolt it here, take it all apart, move it over to my place, then reassemble it. They're just like, I'll just buy new.
Is it an asset to the sale of the facility? I don't know exactly where it is. Depending on obviously. what
Depending
the
on
yeah,
Built into the future, but then they don't have to put that effort in, so maybe. it's
Correct.
not a huge-
Or-
we don't-
Or the
Right.
new owner could just tear it down.
Right, or they
And
can
he'll
tear it all
throw it away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of money went into installing that.
If you're paying that kind of money for a
That's
building,
right,
only
right.
gonna swap over $50 or something in there.
Yep. Okay, do we need a resolution to lease that?
Yeah, that would be great, probably
Right, have a motion, please.
month to month.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have the conditions, right? But
Yes, I wrote them down.
that was part of.
Yeah, same rate as passed plus markup for utilities. Yeah.
Glenn, you want to talk about the Treadle School?
Yeah, so this one. It came up, I think we talked about it briefly last month or. Maybe I meant to and didn't. But so the former ALK Treadwell Elementary School building in Treadwell is coming up for a sheriff's auction on April 11th. Due to a outstanding loan to what is now Pursuit. The owner of the company, American Ginseng, passed away early in COVID. She had moved back to China and passed away there. Sometime after that, her son, who everything was defaulting to, similarly left the area, moved back to China. That's why it's going through the sheriff's auction, because there's no communication with anybody. And they, you know, so they got the judgment in 2001, and now they're moving forward with the auction. The property does have back taxes against it, just under 121,000, currently increasing by 1% a month, which would have to be settled in addition to whatever an auction price is. I just there's a lot of
Let's
unknowns.
go see if we can buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great facility. I think, you know, whatever we buy it for, we're gonna have to put more into it. If nothing else, just on a holding cost basis. But it sold in 2016 for just under $1 million. You know, if we can buy it for
What was
all
it
costs
bought
in
from the school for?
125 or 150, I believe.
150,000?
Do they do any repair?
They had to put a new roof on it and stuff, didn't they, when they bought it?
So,
Windows,
yeah, so from my time, did they put new windows in?
Windows, roof, and
Forno
plumbing,
did it.
electrical?
Oh, that's right. Forno did the windows, yeah.
Was it converted for use at the ginseng?
They didn't do
Facility?
any
Never
work
did.
in that
So she's
regard.
basically an abandoned
Yep, so the
building.
problem with that company is for ginseng, what they were trying to do in 2016 was secure all these leases for the growth of ginseng. Ginseng isn't marketable for 4 to 7 years after it's planted. And well, I don't think anything ever got planted.
Okay.
yeah.
So it's been sitting abandoned for how many years now? 5?
5 years, 5, 6 years, yeah.
So, I mean.
Was it
it's
winterized?
They don't operate, or they don't have any flow through the pipes for sanitary, for water, or most likely looking at potential replacement of all those systems. Which I know because I've experienced that at a different
Right.
property. So that's a big cost and a hard selling thing to get by. I sat on the board in Otsego for the Otsego Elementary School repurposing that we went through and round, and that was a painful process with people that expressed interest or only wanted one classroom, only wanted this. It's just a hard thing to convert from use A to use whatever it's going to be. So that would be my caution to this group for purchasing the property, just that those are the two things that I see as potential concerns. Otsego Elementary School now has the Otsego County Christian Academy in it. That seems to have worked out really well, but that was a long process for them
Right.
to get there.
It was
Yeah,
like
that was
That's what I
my
think is
caution
a
in
good
here.
point.
This is probably a long-term
Right.
investment.
You know, if the plumbing and maybe the electric is corroded over time and has experienced some damage, you know, mice, rats in the building, let's be honest. Like
Oh, if it's
that's-
not winterized, you know what's gonna happen.
Right.
So if it's winterized, you're in trouble.
To be able to resell it, you know, you may have to put all those upgrades into it, you know, the mechanical system at this point is outdated and inefficient. And all those things are gonna have to be checked and verified. The power is probably off, I would guess, so that, yeah. So there's a lot of potential risk and cost before you can turn it around to another
Should
individual.
we have somebody go in and study this?
Well, we
Engineering
can't get access to it
Yeah.
because of the nature of it. We can't get
you're
access
gonna
to
buy
it
it
unless we buy it, yeah.
So it's 35.
36,000 square feet.
Vision.
So, my vision is, so a couple things. So why would we do this with all that risk there? Because if we don't, nobody else is. You know, it was the same thing with what we did at the Lewis lot, same thing with, I guess it's more akin to Hidden Inn. Hidden Inn was stuck in, you know, a foreclosure type situation where it was never going to progress and it was getting worse and worse over time. Now, you know, we were able to get in there, find a user for it, and that turned into a good project.
It's two different buildings, though. I mean,
Yeah, it's two different buildings, but it's the same type of project. Is that, here's my fear, is that what's gonna happen to this building is someone from out of the area is gonna say, that's, you know, a bargain, I'm gonna come up, and then it's just gonna sit there for another 10 years. And we have so many properties in this county in that type of situation that just sit there vacant and nothing ever happens for years, and we can't do anything about it. This at least gives us the ability to try to do something about it.
And we've successfully purchased 2 properties on Winkler Ave, 8 and 14. Split them up. We've got tenants in both of them that are paying us.
Right.
So I look at the aerial map on this.
Well, so that's the thing. So
Okay,
you said,
so
what would
it's-
we potentially use for it?
I got 3 different spots.
Easily.
just Based on roof line, that's pretty easy.
Yes.
Quick math says 10,000, 10,000, 15,000. I don't even know if that's correct,
Yeah.
but it's a window manufacturer. It's another woodworking manufacturer.
We've
it's
got a business basically across the street that is looking for 6,000 to 8,000 square feet.
Yeah,
What's-
so now
what's that?
Now it's loading dock. It is all the mechanicals. If they're not good, what's it take to just put electric and heat in 10,000 feet? Sewer's gotta be probably all together to go into that wastewater treatment plant that they built or septic that they built.
Right. That's where I get concerned. I mean, we're talking about splitting it up to put multiple industrial things in there. It's not set up to be an industrial park.
Yeah, I don't
Probably
think it
have
would
septic
be
system.
industrial. I think at most it would be light manufacturing. So there's in the write-up, I mentioned the 2 businesses that are interested in them. Neither are very intensive. One would want to use the kitchen, obviously. The other doesn't necessarily need high ceilings, doesn't need any type of, their process of making their products is little more, I mean, it's more than this, but it's basically like, you know, hot plates where they're melting things and then just mixing and cooling and things like that. So I think there's options.
What my concern is that it's a relatively new building, so that's a plus on our side. But it, to me, it's very limited in the uses. You're not gonna get a lot of tractor trailers in there just because of the location. Do we become the landlord and break it up and lease it and like we're doing with this building here?
I would put it more akin to what we're doing with 8 Winkler Road, where we have 2 or 3 larger scale tenants in there.
Except they have easy access for tractor trailers and different things, so we're limiting to
No,
the type
but
of business.
Tractor trailers drive through Treadwell every hour on the hour. 7 days a week, because that's where Saputo supplies go through.
Yeah. Okay.
It's true. It's
So-
just in the back of a very residential neighborhood, with a nice curve in the road as it comes around.
Yes,
Yes, you.
So it's not the same access.
yes, oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
As I'm looking at the map, like, well, that's gonna be fun.
the original people bought this for 150 when it stopped being a school.
Yes,
And then they sold it to these people from China for 9.25.
yeah, but after they did improvements to the building.
But yeah, the roof. was
The Yankee
huge
traders
cost.
are at it again.
Well, and also the people who did that are not dumb. They knew what they were doing when they purchased it.
Like for us though, is there a number that we think this thing should be bought for? And is there a number that when you reach trying to do renovations, you either call a halt? I mean, is it just bottomless?
No, well,
Buy it
no,
and then
so I wouldn't
we keep
propose
going?
that. So what I would propose as our investment is a certain number for the board to decide, and I think it should be
Okay.
low, you know, and then go to the step of having a building conditions survey done to find out how all the systems are. And at that point, it's a, you know, kind of a inflection point for the board. Do we move forward and do it, or do we list it with a realtor for sale as is, and then work with a business to help them modify it for their use?
But by any means necessary, pretty much.
Yeah, well, the other thing is one of the potential tenants is also potentially interested in purchasing it. And I wouldn't propose that we would outbid a local business for it. But I wouldn't mind having the second highest bid in case that fell through.
And it's auction, so it's all.
It's auction.
To set the threshold. that we're
There's,
willing to
yes, that's what I'd be looking for the board. There is no minimum, you know, it's gonna go for what it goes for. Just understanding whatever we would bid at auction, we still have $120,000 to pay.
That's kind of the minimum. $1 plus 120 in taxes.
So, yes, all right, so yes, so there is a minimum. It's it's 121,000 minimum.
Right.
And I think it's part of our responsibility, but I think when we get to the dollar amount, we need to do that.
Yes, I mean, this is a public meeting, right? So we're not gonna bid against ourselves and,
Yeah.
and we're gonna bid this much.
Right. Oh, yeah, good point.
So what do you think, McCann?
He beat me too, we're like, we're not saying this.
Well, if you're gonna split it up, it's a totally different ballgame, because then you're zoning it, and if you're putting something in that needs different venting systems, like if you're enhancing the kitchen or some of the, you know, you're doing wood, you're doing light, woodworking, even, you're gonna need some ventilation systems, and then whose responsibility is that? Is the tenant coming in and putting that in, or are we having to upgrade and modify or add to the systems because they're our tenant, and how long are they gonna be there, and that's. The splitting it up thing is always a great idea until like then half of it becomes dilapidated and no longer works, and then you're managing these 5 different entities. Within it, trying to make industrial space out of classroom space is just, it's. And I know that, you know, they're light industrial, but they still bring a whole bunch of different needs and demands, and then you're gonna have to meter all of them separately, like electrical is gonna be figured, so that's a total change. And then how long, you know, so your half of it's being leased, the other half is not. You have to keep that a conditioned space, right? Because you can't damage the other parts of the system that are gonna go off. So there's just like a lot of logistics there that
Mhm.
as a worry word about buildings makes me nervous. But I understand you don't want it to sit vacant. Do you know what the annual tax that would become?
Yeah, that's.
It would be,
We'd have to pay on it.
They
No.
made theirs
Okay.
into a
When we
school.
purchase
see, when we purchase it, it would come off the tax rolls.
Is that bad for truck?
Just temporarily.
You know, so,
That's a big that's a big property in Treadwell, so.
Right,
yeah, so, would it be so if we're successful, the benefits of it, having 2, 3, whatever businesses there coming to Treadwell every day would be a huge benefit to that community. I think it outweighs
the tax,
the tax value.
correct.
So that total is built up over 3 years. So you could just divide the math, what it is on an annual basis, but there's also interest and fees, a 5% penalty, and then interest every single month after that. So I would say it's probably in the $25,000 to $30,000 range in annual taxes.
And the advantage we have over the private sector is most of our money comes from grant. To repair it, and so that puts us at a little better spot than someone trying to do it privately. So the chances of it getting done privately are probably slim. And we have the option that Glenn's had somebody buys it and has a great idea.
But also our best, one thing may be that we go through, if we were to bid and to successfully bid and go through the building survey, maybe our role is just to determine what's wrong with it, because like you said, people are like, it could be this, it could be this, and we find out it is that. And that, but they know going in what it is, or no, it's not that, it's only this. Kind of like with Lewis's, that sat there solely for the reason because everybody was convinced that the land was polluted. Well, we took the chance and it wasn't. And so that's another way, so that would be another option. We go through it and say, yep, we're gonna list it. And then we say to any people we try to sell, just understand, here's the conditions report, this is what you're buying.
I can get on board with where we know that that's a potential path.
Yeah.
And providing that information into a potential investor has a value
Right.
and brings a value to the community too, because that makes it more palatable for someone.
Right, it takes away the unknown. I got you with that
Got
one?
me with that one.
All right.
Now you know.
Okay, so then. When we get done with
Executive session will set up.
this, we'll go into executive session and talk about the
Mhm.
bidding.
Sure, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. The Ravensview Genetics, I'm responsible for this being on the agenda. Last month, the intent was that we were going to talk with them about what was needed to put together the letter of intent to sell the property. Because they need that letter of intent in order to apply for their license. And because of all the different people that we had attending the meeting, it wasn't really appropriate to get into discussions like that last month, so it got dropped. So I think we need to have that discussion and go back to them and say, okay, let's move forward here. So I just wanted to bring it up and get the input from the rest of the board members. What you're feeling on this?
This is kind of contractual too. We should probably do.
You
this
want
in
to save that for
executive session.
executive session?
Yes.
Okay. Then let's. The organizational discussion is all we have left here.
Yeah, so I apologize, my eyes were bigger than my stomach in putting this agenda together. So this the budget came up as a question or a suggestion at the meeting in February. Tab got me all the background information I need to put it together. I just didn't have a chance. And then the policies relate to, was brought to our attention that the IDA, while doing its best, is out of compliance with the maintenance of our website. And in looking at it, there is a bunch of different things we need to do. Some of them, in looking at what it takes to come into compliance, there's a list of like 20 things that we need to do. Most of them are very simple and easy and can be easily be done in-house. Some would require like the board setting new policies. Like we have to have our annual goal. We have to have an annual discussion of goals, and they need to be listed on the website and things of that nature. So I didn't get I didn't get far at all into it, other than just understanding that, yeah, we've got work to do. And it's at a point now where I need to make it a higher priority than I have over the last year or so, that I was talking to Evan about it. They're like, oh yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Well, now we need to get to it. But so just to start that process, and again, this was brought up at another meeting, is what some of my goals are for the IDA. And I put IDA LDC because, you know, even though they're separate, they kind of work in tandem, and the goals are, you know, work together. So I did put goals together for, you know, on different levels for organizational goals, obviously coming into compliance with our website and some other ABO requirements. One of the things that we've talked about for years, and again, is one of those, oh, we'll get to it, but we need to get to it, is we talked for years about making the IDA more of a traditional IDA, doing IDA type projects, building redevelopment and property acquisition and things like that, our pilots, our bonds, and then making the LDC our sole lending entity. And so during the course of this year, probably the summer, when auditors calm down and we calm down a little bit, to figure out how to make that transition of basically switching all of our loans that currently, all of our loans and all of our loan accounts that are currently with the IDA over to the LDC, which that's just an accounting exercise and easy and would take a resolution from the board. But then it also requires, you know, all of our lenders on that side. Well, first of all, to require the IDA saying, yeah, that's a good idea, let's move forward with it. If that were to take place, yeah, there's a little bit of accounting stuff that we'll have to do. And then there is the process of going to each lender, because our documents do say that in order for it to be assigned, both parties have to agree. And so I don't think that would be an issue, but that's just another level of exercise that we'd have to go through for everything as well.
And so, I mean, that's a lot of paperwork and running around for both of you. What's the benefit would just be to cleanly reflect the role of each of them?
Yes. Yep. To separate them into more of what they're supposed to be. So, you know, there's a lot of venom against IDAs across the state from certain sectors, and making sure that our IDA, so IDAs doing lending is not a preferred thing. It's legally allowed, but it's not preferred. And so when we're under intense scrutiny, I just feel, why put a bullseye on yourself? Let's come into what they're looking for. LDCs are where they want lending activity through. So, you know, let's play ball a little.
Glenn, there's a lot of meat here on this outline,
Mm-hmm.
and I see a big discussion needed
Okay,
to go through this.
okay.
Would it make sense?
So everybody has it. We could, now you have it. We
Well,
can talk about it in April.
Would it make sense? I'd almost want to take it a step further. And what are the feelings of everybody if we had a separate board workshop just to go through this?
I think it's a fantastic.
I think that's probably appropriate.
Because we keep trying, we keep bumping into a big agenda at our board meetings. You know, and now we got 2+ loans and so forth, but. I mean, if we picked a day kind of in the middle of the month. Like on the, I don't know, Friday seems to be a good day for everybody. Maybe it is, maybe not. Doesn't matter to me. But. Maybe.
Talking about changing the entire organization, the structure.
Well, yeah,
We need to have
and I think there's a
real
lot
nice
that needs to
meeting,
be,
sit down and figure out what
I agree.
thought through and discussed.
Now, I get the why part, but
Well,
is there
It's fine.
any advantages to being one way or
Yeah.
the other that I don't know of? I mean, is it more advantage for the OVC to be the lending operation?
Well, I think what Glenn hit on is
Is there something that we would be restricted from doing if we did something that way? I don't know.
No, so yeah, so that's the thing, we've discovered over time that the LDC is eligible for participation in any of the loan related programs out there anyway. And it's permitted and eligible for every use there, and it's kind of, discouraged on the other side for the IDA
But that's the
side.
point of having this separate
This
meeting
separate
to
meeting.
discuss this. and-
Right.
Yeah.
Orange County's killing the idea.
But this also
Yes.
brings up.
well, there's others. I mean,
Glenn, this brings up a point that we really need to touch on really quick. This board doesn't have a say in it. But your workload and the staff workload is just getting overwhelming. You need to fill your vacancy.
I've got interviews set up next week,
Well, good.
not
because-
next week, the week after.
Because it's obvious you can't do all this work with the crew we have, and it's just.
Well, we can, we just gotta work harder.
No. No, we have very high expectations from the staff,
Mouse in your pocket?
but we don't want to burn them out,
Right.
and that's what we're doing. And things aren't getting done, and you're running and saying, okay, this is top priority this week, and then next week it's something different.
Yeah, we're-
Changes every day, not week to week.
It feels like we're putting out fires as opposed to
Have a
being, you
plan for the
know what I
whole
mean?
year.
Yeah,
Right,
And it's not squirrel
Yeah.
all the time.
We want you to be happy.
but
Yeah.
it's obvious we just can't do it too much, and we're expecting
Yeah.
too much out of it, and it's not fair to anybody.
so is everybody in agreement with spending a
Yeah.
couple, 3 hours on
Hours.
say a Friday, and I'm just throwing Friday out because it's our normal day.
We value when you.
I know that's your day off.
Time in and help you set it up.
all right, but then I propose that anything over an hour and a
Okay.
half, the meeting is relocated to the Shire.
Aye.
But we can try and find out by email what's a good date for everybody, or.
Okay, all right, yeah, well,
Does that make sense?
yes, yep,
I think it's long overdue.
okay.
Yes.
And I'm glad to hear you have interviews for the position.
Are we going to try to do that in April?
Yes.
In April. Okay,
Need
The
to-
end
we
of
will
April,
send
need to use
out,
At the bar and hand it in?
is everybody comfortable with like a doodle poll format to pick a date?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. whatever
Okay.
works.
Cooler one is good.
I know I'm from Hancock. What's a doodle poll?
Basically, it'll be a calendar and it'll say,
Pick it.
this Wednesday
Yeah.
from this time to this time, and you just mark which times work for you. And
I'm retired.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can make time.
For April, the next IDA board meeting will be the 28th, correct?
yeah,
So if we're looking at a Friday, it's like the 14th or the 20th.
I could do Friday or Monday.
I can't do the 14th. I've already booked an appointment.
Yeah, I'm not doing
Mondays are
anything on
definitely-
April 14th.
Alright.
Or
so do we want to try to pick a day? Do you want to do April 21st?
I would defer to the poll because we have been here for an hour and we still haven't even broken to the second part and we have executive sessions to discuss. So my personal opinion is just table that.
Okay, yep,
Yep.
doodle poll it is, yes,
That's your class.
Glenn, you only have one position available.
yes,
That's right.
but they've got new duties. They're not gonna. Okay,
I know, but.
All right.
I've got-
We haven't hired more
So we have to go to
people.
executive session?
Yeah, okay,
that's already,
then can I have a motion and we'll slide into executive session here?
So move.
second,
Second.
there.
Your reason. You gotta state your reason. for
Uh,
executive session.
We have to go.
Contract-
We'll discuss contractual agreements.
That's right.
So we're back to the IDA meeting. We had two discussions in executive session, the bid on the Shredder School and the contract on for Ravensview Genetics. Both will be resolved as we move forward. Any other old business for the IDA?
I should have a resolution to
vote
bid
on
as
number 6.
ordinance. Yeah. There should be a resolution to
Okay,
To bid on
so
it.
bid according to our discussion.
we, right,
Bid on it. She was gonna,
Oh, yes. I would like to make a motion, to give Glenn and the IDA full authorization to bid on the property as discussed in executive session.
good.
second. I'm sorry.
All, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. And then do we have no other old or new business? Then can I have a motion to adjourn the IDA?
Second.
Okay, I have approval of the minutes for, let's open the LDC meeting. Approval of the minutes for February 24th. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I need the financial resolutions
Yeah, I know. Sarah, you better get.
for the financial reports and the loan, and the loan report.
Make a motion to accept them.
Second,
And
all in favor?
Aye.
I never made a mistake on financial.
Yeah, you don't even second them though.
I know, I was.
Better take a step.
When we were in executive session, we discussed a loan for Sweet Pea Supply Company. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
A second,
Second.
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. And likewise, we discussed a loan for Steady Slope Field and Forest. That's a mouthful.
Do we need to put conditions within the motion?
As approved or as
approved.
discussed
As
in
discussed.
executive
Okay.
session for both.
Discussion.
Yep.
Okay,
Second.
you may, okay,
Yes,
second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And we also discussed a loan extension for Masterson property.
I'll move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any other old or new business for the LDC? No, okay, I have a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Thank you very much.
Stand second.
We didn't do too bad.